yesterday the competition committee unveiled their proposed rule changes, bylaw changes, etc. There's only 5 that the competition committee has put on the table, and 2 of them relate to the rules. The first one is the new proposal for the kickoff. Remember, last year's was done on an experimental 1-year basis. So if they don't re-up with at least 24 votes, the rule reverts to 2023, the old formation. So they got to come up with something, or the clock gets set back literally by 2 years. So what they proposed is the same thing as last year with a couple of tweaks. And Chris, one possibility was moving the kickoff point. One possibility is moving the touchback point. The only thing in there related to the actual commencement of the play is the touchback for kicks that go into the end zone on the fly or out of the end zone. Into the end zone on the fly and aren't returned, or out of the end zone. They go to the 35, not the 30, if at least 24 owners vote in favor of it. But I will say this. Last year when they went to the league meetings, the proposal from the competition committee had the 35, and it got changed to the 30. So will the 35 get 24 votes, or will there be at least 9 who say, we're fine with this dynamic kickoff, but we still want the 30? That's the real question going into next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'd be shocked, right, if it reverted back to 2 years ago. As we discussed a little yesterday and all that, at least this play was relevant this year. At least you got on the edge of your seat a little bit to go, ooh, let me see this and see what happens. So, and I think within that, I think most of the league looks at it with positive reviews. The fans have been positive about it. And I think this is one more little just nudge into return the ball, kick the ball to where we can return it and do it. I think and we're in the pro offense era and everything along that and points. I would be shocked if this doesn't pass. I think after a year of feeling it out and where it was, this is the proper tweak, and I'll be shocked if it doesn't get done.
Without knowing more about why and how the 35 got changed to the 30 last year, I can't rule out the possibility that there are at least 9 teams who are saying we don't want the 35. And they're not saying it publicly. They don't want to pick a fight. They don't want to get their arms twisted by the commissioner before the vote. They just want to be able to go in there when it's time to cast the votes and say we're not on board with the 35. And we will vote together no, and that means we're stuck with 2023. If what you're putting in your proposal is the 35, we're going to vote it down, and we rewind the clocks to 2023. And that's an extreme example, but that's what happens in a situation like this where you need a supermajority. 9 can be very powerful because they can kill anything. And if they kill whatever gets put on the table, we're back to 2023. And I don't think they're going to play Russian roulette with the health and safety of the players, but at the same time, it gives power if the push point is 30 versus 35. Also, the onside kick.
Yeah.
The one change they've made, and I remember in the press box during the Super Bowl when the Kansas City Chiefs were driving, late in the third quarter, down 34-0. I did say to MDS and Shereen Williams, they may want to wait until the fourth quarter to score this touchdown. Because if they score in the third quarter, they can't do an onside kick. Right. And if you're down 34-0, you probably need to start playing the onside kick card because you only got 15 minutes left in the game.
Right.
And lo and behold, they scored late in the third quarter. And I don't know what was said on the broadcast, but by rule last year, this new you must declare the onside kick ahead of time because there's no way to do an onside kick from the new dynamic kickoff formation. The rule was you could only do an onside kick in the fourth quarter, obviously if you're trailing, but it's only the fourth quarter. The change for this year, if it's accepted, you can do an onside kick at any time if you're trailing. And I'd take it the next step farther, and I'd say, why not do the onside kick anytime? Whether if you want to try an onside kick, try an onside kick. Why should you be restricted to only if you're behind?
Yeah, you're right. Right. If you want to take that gamble and add to the intrigue and the theatrics of a football game and kick an onside kick in the third quarter or second quarter, go ahead. We'd all love that. You're right. But I think the big point is like what you're saying. There became a certain point where, wait, this game's out of hand. The only way you can get back into it is we got to start kicking onside kicks in the middle of the third quarter, late third quarter, whatever there. And that was, a huge ability to be able to maybe make the game, close the gap, whatever, more competitive. You couldn't do that. So I think it's the proper thing here. It is. Now, I just, I wonder as we go forward here if we'll make any adjustments to the onside kick. But as of right now, it is what it is.
And there's no proposal for ditching the onside kick for a fourth and whatever play. They don't want gimmicks. And I continue to be surprised because, as we said yesterday, there was a time when the commissioner was asked, who do you root for? He said, whoever's behind. You want to give the team that's behind a chance to eliminate a margin and make the game exciting. They view that as a gimmick, and that's been the word they've used for years. And this is part of the clash between the old school stuffed shirt football guy and the new age. What does it take to make the game exciting to, generation X, Y, Z, whatever, double A, I don't know, do we start the alphabet again? Whatever the young generation is that's always on TikTok, how do you get them to pay attention to football? Maybe you have to embrace a gimmick at some point. The 2-point conversion was a gimmick until they embraced it. Calling something a gimmick is just a way to dig in your heels and ignore progress or things that could make the sport better. Right now, the opportunity for someone who is behind by multiple scores to come back is not there. And think of it this way. If a 4th and 15 play was available to the Kansas City Chiefs when they were down 34-0 in the Super Bowl, would you have at least thought maybe they have a snowball's chance in hell?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yes, I would. I would. Now, again, I don't want just like, oh, they're losing, they deserve a snowball chance in hell to come back. I don't necessarily want that, right? The 4th and 15 thing, I hear you, could add some intrigue, whatever, but I don't love it. And like I said, it's going to favor the teams, I think, that have the really good quarterbacks over the teams that are really good running the football and went, wait, we're not in on the quarterback that way. So that's where I don't love it, right? But either way, they got to do something about the onside kick. They do. Because even though you're allowed to do it anytime you want now, whoop-de-doo. Okay, so you kick 6 onside kicks in a game, and maybe you get 1. Maybe. I mean, maybe. So it doesn't matter. It's kind of a dead play itself right now with the way it is. And I do think at some point they're going to have to either tweak that or maybe go to your 4th and 15 with some other things along with it that need to be tweaked. I don't know, but right now it's not realistic to think you're going to come back with onside kicks.
I just don't like the dismissive use of the phrase gimmick because, frankly, one of the biggest complaints about the new kickoff coming from the highest levels of government is that it's a gimmick. The electric football play is a gimmick. Everybody's standing there frozen while the ball's in the air waiting for the ball to be caught is a gimmick. So I just think it's a lazy way to not do something that they should at least have a real discussion about. Oh, we're not going to discuss that. It's a gimmick. There's an arrogance to that rubs me the wrong way. And I don't know, again, I'm add another name to the list of people I need to avoid in Florida, but I just don't like that dismissiveness because let's not come up with the reasons why we should not even have the conversation. Let's have the conversation and then make a decision as to whether it's the right thing to do. But just looking down your nose at the play is not the way to do it because it could make things more exciting. It could be the answer because, as you said, Chris, the play they have now is dead.
Yeah, the onside's dead. The kick. I don't think the kickoff's a gimmick. It's still within what football is. I mean, that's
right.
where,
right. But you could call it a gimmick if you wanted to. And when the president is calling it a gimmick, there's at least room for reasonable minds to differ on.
Well, he calls things a lot of things, so I don't know if I'm going to get behind that.
How about this? How about this? Many are saying it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
All right? Many are saying it's a gimmick. I think reasonable minds could differ on whether or not having your guys there in their electric football poses while the football's in the air is a gimmick. My point is, let's just not apply a label to it. Let's have the conversation because the option that's currently being used is no good.
No, I know that, and I don't disagree with you there. And they got to figure that out, certainly. They do. And I don't know why, maybe, again, onside. Yeah, maybe if we get back, why can't we get back to some sort of, like, maybe in-between factor of how we used to do the old onside kick and now? I don't know, but they certainly got to increase that and figure that out, and we'll see. Maybe next year your 4th and 15 thing will come up.
Chris, it's also not a safe play. I've heard Chris Collinsworth say that was the play he hated most.
Right.
Because it's a high-intensity car crash as everybody tries to go get the ball. We got to go get the ball. And I'm sure at the bottom of that pile, all sorts of stuff is going on as people try to get the ball. stuff that you would rather guys not do to each other. And so, yeah, I think that it's worth the conversation. I just don't like the dismissive attitude. You know, it reminds me of the people who said 30 years ago, you know, people who were in print journalism about the internet, we'll just ignore it. It'll go away. It's a gimmick. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.